Well, this is Field and Diamond Talks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to ask, hey, what's the name of our podcast again? Great first episode, guys.
We will see you tomorrow night. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Batista with a try. Deep left field. No doubt about it. It is caught by Tyree. Here comes Escobar. 1-0 Kansas City. Didn't have the angle. Touchdown! It is gone. It is Seattle's going to the Super Bowl.
Hey, what's going on, sports fans? This is Field and Diamond Talks, a brand new podcast formulated by three good friends who are very passionate about all sports, but we're just going to focus on mainly football and baseball for this podcast. So, without further ado, I guess the best way to start off a podcast that's brand new is by introducing yourself. My name's Caleb. A lot of y'all might know me as Wolfridge, but I'm Caleb in this channel, so I am a avid Kansas City Royals fan as well as a Seattle Seahawks fan, and you'll catch me repping Penn State University on Saturdays whenever college football comes back. So, yeah.
All right, I can go next. So I'm Brake. Big Chicago Cubs fan on the baseball side of things. Football-wise, I'm a New York Giants fan. Been a New York Giants fan for a long time, ever since Eli Manning first got drafted. Chicago Cubs fan since 2013, so before the bandwagoners all showed up. To move on from that, college football, my team is Notre Dame, Fighting Irish. Love Notre Dame ever since early 2000s. So that's a little bit about me.
All right, yeah, I'm Matt. I'm a big St. Louis Cardinal fan. Have been since about 2011. Last time we were half relevant. Football side of things, I just started getting into it. Dolphins are my go-to to cheer for most Sundays, and college football, I don't have a team quite yet. Maybe somewhere down the line in the future I will, but at this current time I do not.
We'll work on that.
So as you can clearly tell, there's tension between the two above me right now. Two big division rivals. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting over here on my own little island, just pretending like nothing's going wrong.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Matt and I have known each other for a long time, so Cubs Cardinals has always been a big topic with us. Matt and I usually typically go to 2 baseball games with each other at least a year. Try to at least. Went to 2 this year actually with Cubs Cardinals. The last series of the year we just went to and got to see the better team win. But that's
man, some fighting words coming out there.
Shots already, but no, I just like to give some. I just like to give some crap on the Cardinals. I respect them as an organization as a whole. Have been a great org over the last couple of years, and respect the Kansas City Royals especially too. Even though we don't face them off very much, but they're a really good organization as well. Kind of getting back on their feet, especially in the AL Central, really tough division. So pride them for that.
Yeah, I mean, the sad part is that the world literally couldn't comprehend the fact that we're having a good season after getting basically stomped on by the entire league last year. That now we're being accused of cheating, so that's always fun.
Interesting. Yeah. Gotta love those things. Especially now with all those teams in the past that have been cheating, like the Astros, of course, in the scandal in 2017, and then the Red Sox came out 2018, and then there's been talks of like the Yankees later on.
Don't forget the Cardinals did a few years back too. I'll admit it. About 2014, ironically cheated off the Astros. Don't know why that was relevant back then, but hey, we did.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can. I mean, with with baseball season kind of coming to a close and football, well, starting to come to a close, I should say. We're still kind of in the season or getting close to postseason baseball, but with football kind of coming up around the corner, what are some things that we're kind of looking forward to? I mean,
As a Seahawks fan, I don't know what there is to look forward to.
I'm kind of with you there as a Giants fan. I don't know about y'all, but I've been watching a lot of the rookies play. I like Caleb Williams a lot from the Bears. I know that a lot of people like to make fun of him for crying in the stands at USC with his mom up in the stands after a tough loss that he had, but I think that he's been playing really well. I actually I just bought the new Madden game actually too, and I like using him as my character in one of my leagues. But yeah, I watched a lot of Caleb Williams. I've seen some tape on Jaden Daniels as well. He looked pretty decent in practice. Unfortunate for JJ McCarthy on the Vikings as well, going down with that huge injury. That's going to be tough for them having to just roll Sam Darnold out there. I mean, that was the original plan anyway, but I feel like McCarthy would have taken over at least halfway through the season. But we'll see. But as a Giants fan, as far as like our division goes, where I don't see us really contending for anything in the division, at best probably like a 8-9 record. Would be my guess, or pretty close to that. We're pretty below average, just lost Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones is still the quarterback. He looked terrible in our preseason game, threw 2 interceptions. He said he felt great. I mean, if you think 2 interceptions is great, I don't really know what's wrong with you, but yeah, that's the Giants. Matt, how about your Dolphins? They're actually looking pretty good in the AFC East.
I got high hopes. My big concern is hoping that Tua can stay healthy this year. Don't need him on the sideline at all.
Definitely don't. You guys got a good running attack. I mean, you got Devon Achane, who's a first-year running back coming in. Sorry, not first-year running back, second-year running back. Excuse me. Really fast guy, and then you've got a veteran in Mostert. You got a really good tight end, Gesicki, who's a good blocker as well. Offensive line looks pretty decent. Yeah, and as I've stated to you in the past, Matt, the Bills lost one of their biggest targets was Stephon Diggs. I mean, they're still a threat. They're still a good team, but I think that kind of opens up the division a little bit more for the Dolphins to kind of come in and take over, and maybe even possibly another team with, like I stated, the other rookies that I've been watching. Drake May, he kind of looked pretty bad in his first start, but we'll hope for better times. But yeah.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that pans out. And I mean, going back to the old Vikings thing, they've just not had. God, they've just been getting torn apart.
Terrible luck. I mean, like Jordan Addison, his whole situation that's going on right now is not good. And then they've had injuries left and right with depth pieces going down. The rookie quarterback, like I just said, JJ McCarthy going down. It's not looking good for them. And I mean, they already play in what I would consider one of the tougher divisions in football, in my opinion. I mean, you have the Detroit Lions, who just made it back to the NFC Championship game for the first time since like the 90s. So they're looking to repeat. The Packers, who just had Jordan Love sign the biggest contract in NFL history as a quarterback, that still blows my mind a little bit. But nonetheless, he's a good quarterback. I think that they have a good team with Christian Watson as one of their number one targets. They've picked up Josh Jacobs in free agency as well. Yeah, the Packers look pretty good as well. And then, like I said, the Bears have they have a really good young core. I mean, like I said, they just drafted Caleb Williams. They have Rome Odunze. They still have Cole Kmet, DJ Moore. They have all the tools to succeed.
And didn't they just sign DeAndre Swift?
Yes, yeah, and DeAndre Swift. That was the guy I was trying to think of. I couldn't think of him off the top of my head. I knew they signed somebody else that was pretty big. So yeah, the Bears, Packers, and Lions all look very, very comfortable in that division. But compared to like the Vikings, I mean, the Vikings they looked like they were going to at least somewhat compete before. I mean, right around draft time, and then these things happened, and yeah, I mean, it's just part of it. I mean, it's part of the NFL. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. There's going to be people that are going to go get injured, and then there's going to be people that have other issues, such as things they shouldn't be doing off the field. But that's none of my business. They're millionaires. They do what they want to do.
Yeah, we can't really control what the millionaires do.
Not at all.
That's like trying to purposely provoke a wild bull with a red jumpsuit on and then expect it to not charge at you.
Great analogy there. So another thing about this podcast, and I'll kind of state it myself because I've talked to these guys about it, Matt and Caleb as well. But you'll probably see us bounce back and forth like baseball, football, like crazy. Like even whenever it's going to be like prime football season, like maybe like week 3, week 4, we might still be talking about like, because by that point probably the postseason will be somewhat coming to a close. World Series will probably be going on, but like outside of that, we're probably not going to be like shying away from the baseball side of things, and we'll still probably talk about like hot topics on our team, like who might be traded, who might be getting signed, who might be getting released, who might retire, what's going on. Like I know Matt stated, especially with him being a Cardinal fan, and I would kind of agree with him here, especially that Ollie Marmol, the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, I believe that he needs to be fired. I believe a lot of his decisions are questionable because they have a good team. I will straight up admit that. I thought for sure that last year was a disappointment for the Cardinals. Finishing in last place for the first time since like, what was it, Matt? Like 2001, 2000, something like that.
At least, I mean,
it was a long time.
Pretty much all of the 2000s up to now was winning seasons, and even if it was just an even 500 or just a little bit above, it was winning until last year. And I kind of want to blame that on not having the veteran presence, at least as of last year. Mm-hmm. Losing Molina and Pujols,
right,
and Wainwright after that last year. That really, I think, really hurt the clubhouse. And just having Goldschmidt and Arenado as that veteran presence was not going to cut it.
100%.
And Ollie being as young as he is, I don't think he's fit now. Maybe 10 years down the line he could be fit to be a manager somewhere, but right now he is not. And now, surprisingly, our front office made the decisions to get those veteran guys, getting Lance Lynn back. We got Tommy Pham back. And we got Sonny Gray. We got Kyle Gibson.
Yeah,
all those guys. I mean, that had to help something. And we have the tools to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have that proper management to do so.
Yeah. I agree somewhat on that veteran presence. I mean, even though those guys, I don't want to say Pujols didn't contribute because he did contribute a lot of, he got to over 700 home runs in his career with you guys at that point in time. What he hit his last year, was it 14 home runs, 17 home runs, something around there? It's pretty close to it. He's like 42, 43 years old, somewhere.
It was 20, 23 or 24 more. By the end of the year.
Yeah. I underestimated him, so that was much. Maybe I was thinking it was 17 that he had to hit to get to like 700 or somewhere around there. But
I was in the stands when he hit his first on the road to get in 700.
Oh, nice.
To this day, I've never heard a crowd get that loud in my life.
Yeah, that's definitely something special. I got to see him play one last time. It was my first time seeing him play, but it was also the last time I ever saw him play. But yeah, standing ovation every time he'd come out to the plate, no matter what. The guy would ground out. Everybody would stand up and cheer for him just because they loved him. He was an icon in St. Louis. But back to the whole veteran presence thing, even though Molina and like Wainwright may not have been the biggest contributors to that team, they had that, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like that that leadership that like they've been there before. They've done this. Like they have been on the teams that did win because they were on the 06 team. They were on the 2011 team. Pujols as well. They all three were on those teams. They said, "Hey, we've been here before. Like we can take you guys to this next step. Let's get to that next step." And even if they didn't make it in those previous years, they were right there. I mean, multiple. I mean, 2013, for example, right there. I mean, Pujols was not on that team, but Wayne and Wainwright were. I mean, 2013, they were right there. I mean, they were up. What was it? 2-0 at one point in time. 2-0, and then the Red Sox came back, won all 4 games.
I think it was 2-1.
Or 2-1. Okay, yeah. Because I will never forget the infamous call of the interference at third base with Alan Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coming through there. And I thought at that point in time when I first watched that, because that's about the time when I first started really watching baseball. And I watched that World Series, and I remember that. I thought for sure, I was like, man, the Cardinals are going to win this World Series. Like, they're up 2-1. They just had that huge momentum swing. They won that game at home. They're going on the road to play Boston. They have all the momentum in the world, and then just got captured back. And Koji Orihara became like the ghost of Bob Gibson and just destroyed the St. Louis Cardinals every time he'd come in the bullpen. That's one thing I still remember about that.
Yeah, and even though we didn't win, we still made it.
Yes.
And it still to this day we have not made it back to the World Series. We've made it to the Division Series. I mean, that next year we made it to the Championship Series. No, Division Series against the Giants. But, well, as Ryan knows, my worst fear haunts my dreams every now and again. Travis Ishikawa's 3-run
the one-hit
walk-off homer against Michael Wacha to send them to the next series. But I feel like we dominated a bit of the 2010s.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even 2019, you guys made it back to the championship series. You guys played the Nationals, and that's right around that time. The Nationals were just really getting hot, and they hit that walk-off hit against Milwaukee. They beat I can't remember who they beat in the division series. I'd probably have to look at it.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
If we forget, well, yeah, I want to say it was LA. I think that's right. And then they, I remember coming in, a lot of the Cardinal fans were saying about like how this will be an easier series compared to LA. And I mean, I was right at the time. I was honestly thinking the same thing, but then just Washington got hot. That's how a lot of those teams are. You get hot at the right time. It's almost impossible to beat the teams. I mean,
it's game over pretty much. If you have the momentum and just everything clicking, if that other team doesn't have that, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
One of the prime examples of that would be the 2014-2015 Kansas City Royals. I mean, they just came out of nowhere. I mean, 2014's, the one anomaly where we got Madison Bumgarner to death. So, but 2015, I mean, you can't sit there and say that wasn't, poised for greatness. I mean, we were practically sweeping the entire All-Star lineup that year. It got so bad that the MLB stepped in because they were worried that like there was something stupid going on.
Yeah. I guess another thing, and everyone that's gonna listen to this or watch this, however you're viewing, this is really off the grid right now. We don't have really any notes. This is just kind of us going off on tangents a little bit. Another PSA too. We're not experts. We have our own set of opinions. So, I mean, before you come in and try and debate us and say if we try and claim somebody had a certain stat and you think otherwise, I mean, let us know and we'll try and fix that or be better at it. But if you're ever up for wanting debate questions or anything else, you can also send us a message. I'm sure that we'll probably put a link to some type of message board that you can have at the end of the podcast or something. I'm sure that Caleb will come up with something for that.
Yeah, I can definitely figure out something. And also I know that there's probably going to be points where one of us or mostly me is probably going to be able to are probably going to end up butchering somebody's name, so please try not to torch me alive if I butcher somebody's name.
For sure. I can't tell you how many guys on like Madden 25. I'll like, I do a lot of fantasy drafts on there, and like we'll I'll draft somebody and I have no idea how to pronounce their name whatsoever. It's just like a butcher of the name. But yeah, that's definitely good points to add in there. Outside of that, I mean, is there anything else you guys really want to like hit on this first episode, or are you wanting to kind of just wrap things up?
That's a really good question. I mean, I don't really know that there's anything else that we could touch on. I mean, we had a few good, things that we talked about. We established basically what our show's about, and we also really kind of got on about, just a few things that really set the tone.
Yeah. Tangents, talked about what we remember from our team's histories and whatnot. I mean, I guess I didn't really talk about the Cubs won the World Series in 2016. There you go. There's my team history.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Anthony Russell.
Anthony Russell.
Addison Russell.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
That was my favorite player for the Southside Bears. Anthony Russell.
I think I was saying Anthony Rizzo, and it made me mess up. I meant to say Addison Russell. Yeah. So yeah, all those old guys, Ben Zobrist too.
Oh yeah, Ben Zobrist. He was a big part of that Royals team too.
I think another idea that I'd like to start doing is like we spin a I'd love to see like a random wheel of like players, like, and like we each nominate one guy like from our teams, maybe like history, like maybe one time we do like MLB, and then like another time we do like the Seattle or like not just the Seahawks, but like the Seahawks, Giants, Dolphins, and then we do like a player for that like we would obviously like recognize, get nostalgic about, like I don't know, like maybe for like the Cubs I could talk about like Darwin Barney or something, or like for the Royals maybe you could touch on like Alex Gordon and Matt, maybe, I don't know, like
yes, Alex Gordon, the biggest thief in Kansas City history.
Schumacher or something, one of the like somebody like that, and just kind of hit on what you remember about them. So, especially if you like really get nostalgic about somebody like as a kid. They don't even have to be like that good of a player, but like you hit on it a little bit. Like I still remember one of my first MLB autographs. Like matter of fact, it was the first MLB autograph. It was Sean Marshall. I don't know if any of you guys ever remember that name, but Sean Marshall was a relief pitcher for the Cubs, and don't really remember a whole lot about him. I don't think he was like the best pitcher out there, but like he gave me my first autograph as a kid, and that's one thing that I really remember about the Cubs. And that, I mean, hell, that was before I even started really watching. I mean, that was like 2010, 2009, somewhere around there.
That's not particularly the name I remember.
Yeah, Sean Marshall. I think he played for the Cubs and the Reds. He was, like I said, relief pitcher. Didn't really do a whole heck of a lot. I don't really remember much, but he wasn't like a big name guy like, I don't know, Derek Lee or like Kosuke Fukudome. Guys like that. People I remember.
That's how you said he didn't do a whole lot. He's just there. He was just there. That's all you can say.
Yeah, he was just kind of there, but those are guys that I remember, just like guys that I remember all the time. And they don't even necessarily have to be from your team. You could just nominate like one person or off the top of your head, and if it could be a bust, it could be really good. Like maybe one person remembers them, maybe one person doesn't. I'm sure there's going to be moments like that. So.
Yeah, we could definitely come up with some segments to make this a little bit more interesting. We can talk all this over, at some other time, and we can really come up with like a set, like how we want to do this with actual set segments.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely down for that. And then like, I think next time we do this, whether that's next week or week after or whatever it might be, whenever we all have time, but think we should like touch on like all of like our teams like week 1 games for the NFL, especially since that's like coming up really fast. Like it's coming up in, like, I mean, I think we kick off in 3 weeks. Let me double check.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to check.
1, 2, actually no, 2 weeks technically. 2 weeks is because September 5th is the first game.
Jesus.
Oh, so okay, sorry. I guess today's the 18th. I don't know when you're gonna post this, but today we recorded this on the 18th. Everybody. So 3 weeks from Sunday. Yeah. So we could talk about like the big games. Like we could all have like a game of the week maybe to watch for. It doesn't necessarily have to be like our team. Like those are all just some ideas that I'm pitching forward. Like I mean, obviously, in my opinion, I'd say like if I had to pick a game of the week right now, like off the top of my head, it's probably gonna be the opener for the NFL, and it's the Ravens and Chiefs. I think that's gonna be a hell of a game. So.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree
just-
with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, like I guess we're just kind of putting my idea to life right now. So I'll pull up my handy dandy app and just kind of pull it off the top of my head. So let's see. So yeah, week 1. Yeah, definitely not my team. The Vikings and Giants. I hope that we're able to take that game because I mean the Giants are at home for one, and the Vikings do not have McCarthy. They're not going to be starting with McCarthy. They're going to be starting with Darnold, who has obviously not been great. So then, yeah, I would say that's probably going to be the best game to watch. Yeah, definitely going to be probably the best game to watch. That or maybe I'd say in second place, if you're wanting kind of something more interesting, my personal opinion, I'd say like the Jaguars and Dolphins might be a little interesting. So Matt, that's your team, obviously the Dolphins. Dolphins host at home that week.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah, definitely a good way to start. Christian Kirk looks like he might be questionable right now, but I mean he'll probably be ready to go by week 1. Yeah, and then how does having Odell Beckham Jr. on the Dolphins feel for you?
He really is. I'm going to be honest. I've kept up more with baseball these past few weeks and not
all right.
football. So I really just started watching football last year. Truthfully, tried to watch every game that I could. But no, I'm honest. I did not know that Odell Beckham was a part of the squad. That's pretty interesting. I say if he still plays to a decent level, that's a pretty good wide receiver option, along with having Tyreek, of course.
Tyreek, Waddle. I mean, you guys definitely have a really good team. So I mean, and Jacksonville has a really good young squad too, in my opinion. I mean, they've got Trevor Lawrence, of course, and then they've got Travis Etienne at running back. They've still got Christian Kirk, Devin Duvernay, Evan Ingram. So I mean, that'll be like a good game to watch, I feel like. But yeah, I definitely think my game of the week would probably be between the Ravens and Chiefs. Oh, I didn't even see this one. Packers Eagles, and that's actually the international series. They're playing in Sao Paulo this year. So it'll be good to get the NFL up and everything. And that's actually on a Friday night. Interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, I did see that the Eagles and Packers were playing in Brazil, and I actually saw something. I'm not sure how much truth there was to it, but there was rumors that they weren't going to be able to wear green jerseys over there because of like gangs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard about that. So they were talking about wearing all whites or something, and that, or they said something about like how one of them's gonna have to wear like their alternative jersey that's like not, it's like a, because the Packers have the they have that old timey uniform. I'm sure you could probably find a picture of it. It's that blue jersey with like the yellow number in the middle, and it's like got a circle around it, and then like a brown helmet. They talked about wearing those, and ugh, that'd be terrible looking. But I think that uniform person was like dog crap. But that's me. And I'm not sure what the Eagles will do, but yeah, I did hear about that, Caleb. I think that's definitely interesting to hear about that. Yeah, outside of that, I mean, there's a couple division games that might be interesting. I mean, Texans Colts, that might look all right. Panthers Saints, I think. I mean, that's kind of like a dumpster fire right there. Sorry if you're a Panthers or Saints fan, but probably not going to be a good year out of either of you guys. But I can't really say much for my team. Raiders Chargers, that's another divisional team. Rams Lions, that was a rematch in the for the playoffs, and I believe that was the wild card round. Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, I think that was wild card.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was. So that's kind of the games going into week one. Maybe next podcast we'll have a little more details on some of the teams, who looks good, who and whatnot, and I mean, hopefully no bad injuries are going to happen, but I mean, injuries do happen throughout the year in the NFL and as well as the MLB. So, I guess another thing we can do to kind of fill in this podcast time as well is kind of talk about like, what do you think of the predictions for the MLB? Who do you think is going to finish out on top? Who do you think is going to get a wild card spot? Who do you think is kind of out? Anybody
Well,
want
I
to
hate
touch
to
on
say,
that
I think the White Sox are out, painfully so. But
Oh yeah. Sorry if you're a White Sox fan. I actually just visited that ballpark for the second time. I went to my first crosstown series last week on Saturday, and that was fun. Definitely got to saw Cubs win, so that was always good too. But White Sox do have I don't want to say a terrible ballpark, but it's all right. The second time I felt like it was honestly a little bit better than the first. They do have that skyline view at the edge of the park. They also have that campfire milkshake. That's probably, what'd you say, Caleb? Like 6,000 calories.
Yeah, it says that thing looked like that's like 6,000 calories. So that's probably the only reason why you rated it so high.
Yeah, very good, but yeah, the team there is just not good. I think that their ownership needs to resell. Jerry Reinsdorf, both the owner of the Bulls and the White Sox, definitely needs to consider a resell. Because he has quite a bit of money and he's just letting that team kind of go to waste. But that's a couple owners in the MLB. But back to it. I guess I can kind of give my prediction. So as I have it pulled up on my phone right now.
I was about to say I got it pulled up right here.
Yeah.
I also have it pulled up. All right, we're prepared.
Same wavelength, but yeah, I'll start. So I guess I'll start with the American League because that's not my normal, that's not my team's league. I'll start with the AL. Personally, I don't catch too many games in the AL. I kind of have like Caleb as my little like report card every now and then. I swear I get like probably 6 to 7 messages about the Royals every day, and I appreciate them. I do like to hear about what's going on in Kansas City and the game itself. Usually, most of the time, he's not saying some kind words about a player that gives up a run, or he's saying why'd this guy strike out or whatnot. But other times, he's filling me in with good stuff.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am the most friendly person when it comes to my team.
Oh, I had to get
Man, we're one episode in and you're already painting him as a bad baseball fan, Ryan. That's kind of rude.
I'm just shooting some shots at everybody, all right. But as far as the predictions go, AL is really good. It's as a whole, the AL is, in my opinion, levels better than the NL. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. and almost 5 70-win teams. I mean, 70. Sorry, I should say 70+ win teams. You got the Orioles and the Yankees tied 73 and 52. That's going to be a battle till the end. Personally, if I had to pick, I would probably say the Orioles are probably going to edge them out. So New York would obviously end up with the number 1 wild card spot in the AL. And yes, they would. I'm on the Score app and it showed the Orioles at first, but I was looking at the leaders by accident. But yeah, so your American League leaders, Orioles obviously at 73-52, but they're tied right with the Yankees, who have the number 1 wild card spot in the entire AL. Doesn't really look like that will change unless, like I said, they etch the Orioles out. Then they have the Guardians in the AL Central, which they are super good team. Actually visited their stadium for the first time this year. Really good players, really good staff. And then Twins are right behind them in that division, 70 and 54. And then there's the Royals right behind them as well, really climbing out of there, especially from last year. They definitely made extreme leaps and bounds. Definitely really excited to see how that team performs in the near future. Huge Bobby Witt fan as well. I love watching him play. But if I had to make my bold predictions out of this American League, and as we stand in the middle of August right now, I would say that the biggest chance out of any team to make it out and into probably the World Series, I would have to limit it down to 2 teams, and it would probably be either the Orioles or the Guardians. And those are my 2 choices. I know those are the 2 top teams in those divisions, but as of now, I think that they both have the pitching staffs to do it. Guardians do need to be a little bit more consistent with their pitching staff. However, they both have extremely talented hitters. They are very consistent. Not a whole lot of guys that are missing time. And both have really good young cores. So, yeah, 2 very exciting teams. Do you want me to move on with my National League, or you guys want to weigh in on some AL stuff, or do you guys agree, not agree, and that's all right, we can debate. That's fine.
I agree, mostly.
Okay.
I guess I agree a lot. It's very close, but it seems like the top 4 teams for that wild card are just running away with it. I don't see Boston or Seattle gaining enough ground to catch. Well, right now they got to catch the Royals. That's who they got to catch, and I don't see them catching them.
No, I don't either. Mariners should still win the division. I will say that, though. If the Astros do kind of have a terrible couple weeks or so, the Mariners get hot, they do still have a shot at winning the division, and they would automatically be in. Mm-hmm. But
I do think the Orioles will take the East.
Okay.
And I think a bold prediction is I think the Twins could take that top wild card spot.
Ooh, okay.
Because they're only 2.5 back of it right now, and the Yankees got to face Cleveland their next game. So they're starting a fresh series with them. Now, if Minnesota can beat San Diego, I could see them flipping that right there. Baltimore plays the Mets, and truthfully, the Mets are...
It's the Mets.
The Mets are the Mets.
No offense to Mets fans, but the Mets are the Mets. I'm sure you could agree just a little bit, Mets fans.
But I think even within the next week, they could possibly flip spots. But it'll definitely be it'll be a race till the end of the year. I mean, we still got a whole month and a half worth of baseball left. So it's anybody's game right now.
100%. Anything can happen in this sport. That's what makes it so special. Caleb, anything on your team and the rest of the American League? I'm sure that you have your slight bias as well, and that's all right. Biases are accepted here.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased, and I'm looking at this wild card race right now, honestly, and it's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be going into the year. I was just hopeful for a winning season, but I mean, my expectations have been far surpassed. Um,
Definitely.
I definitely, I mean, it's a toss-up right now. I could see, um, looking at the top teams right now, Houston's got great momentum with their last 10 being 9-1. Meanwhile, all the other teams are 5-5. But currently, Cleveland and New York are both on losing streaks, and they're getting ready to face off. So that's going to be a good series. Um, one thing I could see happening because um, San Diego, they are currently 7-3 in their last 10. I could see them maybe giving a fight to Minnesota and maybe knocking them down a peg in the wild card race just for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see Kansas City possibly taking that spot away from them for right now because they've got a series coming up against the Angels, which they're almost bottom of the barrel. They're currently tied with Oakland, which I mean that's not really saying much.
Yeah. Another thing to add too, those big series coming up. I know that Matt, you said that the Guardians and the Yankees were facing off against each other. Yankees have lost 2 straight, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. Guardians have lost 3 straight and are 5-5 in their last 10. And then the Twins and Royals are both 6-4 in their last 10, and the Royals have won 4 in a row. So that's actually coming out to be kind of a scary series for a couple teams. I mean, the Twins could absolutely fold. They could continue the streak. It's like that. It's like I just said. I mean, that's what makes the sport so special. Anything can happen. I mean, who knows? These teams could every single one of these teams we just talked about could absolutely tank. Do I see it happening? Probably not, but it could happen.
As much as I'd love to see it, I don't see Kansas City winning the division, but I could see them possibly taking second.
Oh, I could definitely see that. That is definitely a thought I could see. It's going to be tough to beat out Minnesota, but I mean they're right there. They are right there.
A game separates, and that's
saying a lot.
Yeah, I mean that whole division is just. I mean, Minnesota being 2 back from Cleveland and Kansas City only being a game back of Minnesota, it's anybody's game right now for that division.
Very, very true. All right. Probably a good amount on the AL. We'll go ahead and we'll mount over to the National League. So, looking in the National League, I guess I'll touch on the East first. Phillies obviously have I guess they're tied with the Dodgers win wise, but loss wise, they have the best record in the National League. They're 73-51. Pretty comfortable lead in the division. They're beating out the Braves by 7 games. They are 5-5 in their last 10. So kind of middle of the road as of late, but they've had a really good year all year. Had some injuries that they kind of ran into too as well. I know that Ranger Suarez went on the IL and he's been having a killer year, kind of out of the blue. Owned him in fantasy baseball for a little bit before I traded him to Matt, and Matt even enjoyed the pickup as well. He's yeah, but that's the that's the Phillies. I think that they're definitely going to be probably. I mean, they're definitely going to make the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind about that. They'll probably definitely be the division winners unless something drastic happens within the last month and a half or so. And outside of that, that's really all I have on the East. I mean, the Braves are probably going to make it through the wild card. They hold the let's see, let me go to the National League. They hold the third spot right now. I just found them. Yep, third spot behind the Diamondbacks and Padres. And that's actually kind of surprising to me. I haven't really kept up too much with the West as of late, but I remember looking back about a month or two ago, and I mean, I don't know if there's any Diamondback fans out there, but I kind of counted you guys out a little bit. I honestly thought that it was over with. I was like, man, this is really disappointing season after what had happened last year. I mean, kind of came out of the woodwork last year. You guys kind of snuck into the playoffs, and then all of a sudden we're in the World Series. I mean, yes, they evidently lost to the Rangers in the World Series, but I mean, goodness gracious, if you would have asked me if the Arizona Diamondbacks were making the World Series last year, I would have told you absolutely not.
Yeah, that was my thing, was that, they would have been a great Cinderella story. It's just, I feel like they just ran out of steam, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. But looking into their race right now, like I said, 2 months ago, if I would have looked at them, I've been like, yeah, they're out of the race. There's no way. There's no way they're making this. And now they're a game behind the Padres, 4 games out of the first place spot in the division. And they currently hold the second wild card spot. That's extraordinary for them. I think that's awesome. So the NL West is kind of shaping out to be a little bit of a fun race towards the end. So, I mean, you have the Dodgers obviously ahead. I don't really see them losing the lead in the division. They're 7-3 in their last 10, although the Padres are as well. But if they keep playing their brand of baseball, I mean, behind Ohtani, they just got Mookie Betts back. I know Freddie Freeman's having his issues with his son, and hopefully all that goes well. I know that Freddie Freeman probably won't listen to this podcast, but wishing you well with all your family matters and everything. If they stay behind their core, they'll be just fine in my eyes. Padres will probably maybe hold on to that number 1 spot. If not, they'll probably just drop down to number 2 behind the Diamondbacks. If not, number 3 by the Braves. I don't really see them sticking it out. Okay. So I guess this is where we're making our first human error kind of mistake. I know we just said the Mets were kind of metting and everything, but they do actually right now hold the 4th wild card spot. So Matt, reaction on that?
I can still see the Mets betting. Truthfully, I don't see the Braves giving up that 3rd spot to them. Yeah, I know they're only 2 games back, but I still look at the Braves and see a better team than New York. And if they do happen to fight for that 3rd spot, it'll be a fight just between them two. San Francisco, I mean, they're 4 back. Anything could happen, but I don't believe that. I don't believe the Cardinals are going to make it. I really don't.
There's us. Yeah, I was actually just talking to my dad, you guys know my dad, huge Cubs fan, has been since the 1980s. Grew up on Ryan Sandberg and Andre Dawson, all those guys, Greg Maddux. So he's the one that kind of made me a big Cubs fan. Was talking to him the other day though, and he was telling me, he said we're on a decent run right now because we have, in the last 10 the Cubs are 6-4. Just lost to Toronto today. So we won the series, but evidently lost today. So we could have gotten the sweep, but we didn't. But he was telling me that we would need to win 70% of our games in order to even just make a wild card spot. And evidently, all those other teams that are ahead of us in the wild card would have to lose the majority of their games, which don't really see it happening. But if I had a general reaction of my season I shouldn't say my season, it's not my team, but it is my team, but it's not, I don't own the Cubs. It's Mr. Ricketts' team. But if I had a general reaction of the Chicago Cubs season, I would have to say it's generally disappointing. I really, really, really thought that last year's team was not better than this year's team. I really thought that way. and that's not to say that last year's team was bad. Last year's team was a pretty good team. We got kind of hot towards the end, kind of like we are right now, but I thought this year's team was better. We brought in a new manager with Craig Counsell, who had multiple runs with the Brewers. Yes, we signed him to a massive contract that I was not the most fond of, but I mean, making him the highest paid manager in all of baseball, I don't really know if he's worth that, but I believe he's a great manager, was a great player, had many great moments in postseason history, but I believe that we had better depth. We signed Shota Imanaga out of Japan, and he came out on fire out of the gate. Was our best starter. I mean, and I would probably call him, I mean, if not our ace, our second in command behind probably Justin Steele, who's had some bad luck this year as well. I mean, I can't tell you how much it just like hurts me to like say that. Like the fact that I would say that Shota Imanaga is considered our quote unquote ace, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but the fact that like Justin Steele was considered almost a Cy Young candidate last year. And now the dip down from year to year just happened. I mean, it's like it's depressing, and I hate to say that as a Cubs fan. I do. That's just my general thoughts on that. But
Well, that's how I feel about the Cardinals too. I mean, we talked earlier. We brought all this veteran presence in, and I mean, we both talked, you and I, over the offseason that we had high hopes for both the Cardinals and the Cubs. We had thought that they would be
I thought it was
the
going to be a
people.
neck and neck fight between the both of us for the division title, and maybe the Brewers would get mixed in there. And now it's just been the Brewers running away with the division.
I mean, them compared to us right now, we have both lost one because the Cardinals lost to the Dodgers today, and then you said the Cubs lost to the Blue Jays, and the Brewers, they've won 5 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and that's who we face starting Tuesday for our next series.
Yeah, and by far, the other thing that I forgot to mention about the Cubs, Cubs actually have considered quote unquote the weakest schedule out of every team left in the entire MLB. So
I think if I remember correctly, it was like about 20th on the list if you were ranking teams from the hardest to easiest.
Yeah, we
were down
like
there
in
the easiest category.
Yeah, have one of the lower categories for most difficult. But yeah, I mean, it just really disappointing for both of our teams, and I was really hoping for the best out of both of us. I mean, you had a lot of good signings over the offseason with, they may be older pitchers, but they have proven themselves in the league. I mean, I love the signing of Sonny Gray, and I think that overall he has pitched a pretty decent this year. Just, I mean, it's the supporting cast around him. It's like at one point in time, like you guys couldn't score enough runs, and then it was he would get bashed around, and your offense couldn't keep up.
And still to now, our offense can't keep up. I mean, we had a nice win against LA yesterday. I was kind of surprised we pulled it off, but I mean, it was a good win. When it's a good team when everything works together. But as the days go on, one day something's working, the next day it's not. The hitting could be on one day, but if the pitching's not, I mean, we signed the guy that gave up the most home runs last year in Lance Lynn. Yes, I know that man can eat innings like it's nothing, but if you keep putting him out there inning after inning, that other team's going to get to him because he's not a young stallion no more. He's getting up there. That's why people are calling us the retirement home because our starting rotation is all above the age of 33.
Yeah. And I will say things to, I don't want to call this season over yet because it's not, but I mean, as far as like my team goes, I mean, if I had predicted out, I mean, I don't see us making the postseason. At best, I hope we finish with a 500 or better record, but We'll see towards the end.
Mm.
That'd be like my highest hope for us. If we do somehow make the postseason, because everybody tanked or whatever, just hope that we play up to our standard. But outside of that, I mean, things that I am impressed with about this season, did have some rookies come up that were really good. Michael Bush, especially, we traded for him at the very, very beginning of the year. I think that he's been a very solid rookie. Batting average could be better, but his on base percentage and home runs have been really, really well throughout the year. Don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he's close to 20 home runs, if not more than that. So really impressed with his play. Like I talked about earlier, Shota Imanaga, he's considered a rookie, even though he's like 29 or 30, one of the two. He's up there a little bit, but he's done pretty well for us. At the beginning of the year, I thought he was a no doubt candidate for rookie of the year out of the National League, and then Paul Skeens kind of came in and just took over that. But I give all the praise to him. He's an absolute unit. Just goes down, mows down people with ease, and that's that's the Cubs for you. I mean, I think our bullpen has improved as well through the beginning of the year to now. I think that we have definitely improved as a bullpen. I will say this. I feel like if we had our bullpen now at the beginning of the year, I feel like maybe we would have had a better turnout this year. I saw towards like, I want to say it was like maybe mid-June or so. Our record, like if the game had ended in like the 7th inning or 8th inning, we would be like leading the division or something like that, and we would have had like 40 some odd wins around June, which is crazy to think about because of how many games we've led. And I mean, I know blown saves happen and like blown games happen. It's part of it, but the fact that there was so many throughout that time, because I mean, towards June, I mean, we were god awful. I mean, I think we were at one point in time like 11 or 12 games back. So
yeah. Well, at one point after April or May, the Cubs and Cardinals swapped places. We started bottom of the barrel, 5th, for a good first 2.5 months, and within that time frame, we slowly swapped with you guys to where we were 2nd, and we were 3.5 back at one point of the Brewers. That is where I was starting to have faith, and then, bam, it just didn't happen. That fire just went out.
Definitely. But if I had to, I'll do the same thing I did for the AL. If I had to pick my top 2 like threats out of the National League, to make any noise, personally, I would say it's between Philadelphia and probably, I mean, I as much as I hate to say it, it's probably going to be the Dodgers. Do I think that the Dodgers will make it all the way to the World Series? No. They have a typical trend of making it to the Division Series, Championship Series, and then usually falling out. Could be different this year. They have had, I mean, like I said, they have a very good team with with Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman, and all the other supporting cast around him. But I don't think that they're going to win the World Series. I've seen them have what I thought were better teams with people's careers. I mean, those around like the Matt Kemp days when they had him after he was hitting around like 30, 40 home runs a year. But yeah, so those are my bold predictions out of the top 2 threats. I definitely think it's going to be another. If I had to pick the winner of the World Series, I can't tell you the winner yet, but I definitely think it's going to be somebody out of the American League.
I think a good prediction right now, if these teams keep playing the way they can play, I could see it being Baltimore and Philadelphia in the World Series.
And see, that'd be a rematch of 83, actually, 1983. That was Cal Ripken's like rookie year, I want to say. And fun fact, that was his only World Series he ever played in and won.
Man, I don't think that where the United States is ready for Baltimore and Philadelphia to compete in a World Series in this day and age.
United States.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the NL leaders, and that is close. Like you could literally throw a blanket over all three of them at the top. I would almost say the same goes for the wild card. You could throw a blanket over them. That's how close it all is. Oh man, I think I gotta agree with you, Break. I think honestly, if there's any two that are to come out of the NL, it's probably between Philadelphia and LA. I mean, and I think that Philly would probably be the one to have the edge. Well, Milwaukee was able to beat them at one point. I can't remember what year that was. That I'm pretty sure they beat them in the playoffs. God, what year was that? I don't even remember, but still, I think it's a possibility. But I think overall, I think the Dodgers are just an unstoppable force right now, and I think that they would steamroll past Milwaukee. So I don't think Milwaukee really has a shot. I think it's like you said, I'm still between Philly and LA, but I think Philly would end up going to the World Series from the NL.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all good points. I think we're probably good to wrap it up here. Definitely a good first episode, I would say.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
Man,
for sure.
I've
We'll
literally
catch
been
you
up.
while we're out then, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this has been the first episode of Field and Diamond Talks. We'd like to thank you all for watching, tuning in. Tune in. I'll post the schedule with the planned drop for the next episode. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and take care.